what if the untold stories about some of the biggest names in music weren't just rumors, but the key to understanding the complex world they inhabit? What if the rise of Rihanna, her relationship with Beyoncé, Jay-Z, and Diddy, and her eventual stepping back from the music industry were all tied to more than just professional ambition? In this deep dive, we'll uncover secrets, rivalries, and controversial moments that shaped the careers of these music icons. When Rihanna first entered the music scene in the mid-2000s, she was fresh, vibrant, and ready to conquer the world. Her unique voice combined with her undeniable stage presence made her an instant hit. But what many don't realize is that she didn't get to where she was without drawing inspiration from someone else, someone who had already established herself as one of the most powerful forces in the music industry, Beyoncé. In the early stages of her career, Rihanna was open about the admiration she had for Beyoncé. Rihanna once referred to Beyoncé as her biggest inspiration, praising her work ethic, her talent, and her ability to break barriers for women in the music world. As both women were signed under Jay-Z's Roc Nation, there was an underlying connection between them both professionally and, at least in the beginning, personally. For many, Rihanna's ascent in the industry seemed like a natural progression. She had the right mix of charisma, beauty, and talent to dominate the charts. But as Rihanna's star rose higher, something started to shift in her relationship with Beyoncé. What initially seemed like a supportive sisterly bond soon turned into something much more complex and perhaps competitive. One of the most pivotal moments in their relationship came with the release of Beyoncé's 2013 single Bow Down. The song, which caused a stir for its aggressive tone, seemed to contradict much of what Beyoncé had preached about female empowerment and solidarity. For years, Beyoncé had been an advocate for women's independence and strength, notably in her anthem, Run the World Girls. Yet in Bow Down, she demanded respect and even told people to bow down. The juxtaposition between the two messages didn't sit well with many fans, and particularly with Rihanna, who had built her brand around empowerment and being a voice for women. Rihanna, who had long admired Beyoncé, found herself disillusioned by this new persona. She was especially hurt by what she perceived as a shift from the girl power messages Beyoncé had once championed. For Rihanna, this wasn't just a song, it felt like a personal attack on other women in the industry, especially those who, like her, were rising stars. But what's even more intriguing is that Beyoncé's sudden tone shift didn't go unnoticed by others in the industry. Many began to speculate that there was a deeper issue at play. The media buzz around the song and the implications it had for women's solidarity in music were hard to ignore. As if the tensions between Rihanna and Beyoncé weren't enough, another layer to the story began to emerge: Jay-Z's alleged inappropriate behavior toward Rihanna. There have long been whispers about Jay-Z's actions behind closed doors, particularly with young female artists like Rihanna, who was just a teenager when she was signed to Roc Nation. Rihanna has never fully confirmed these rumors, but she has alluded to some uncomfortable experiences with Jay-Z, especially during her early days in the industry. In one interview, she described being trapped in Jay-Z's office when she was only 17 years old. According to her, Jay-Z refused to let her leave until she signed with him, creating an atmosphere of pressure and control that made her feel vulnerable. While these accounts were vague and without clear confirmation, they painted a picture of the industry's darker side. Rihanna's comments on the matter were cryptic, but revealed that she felt the weight of the power dynamics in play. Jay-Z, as one of the biggest moguls in the business, was known for his influence, and it's possible that his professional relationship with Rihanna went beyond what was typical of a mentor-protege dynamic. But it wasn't just Rihanna who was affected by the pressure to conform. There were whispers that Beyoncé too felt trapped in her relationship with Jay-Z. The tension between the two women seemed to grow as Rihanna's career began to take off. As Rihanna gained popularity, the public began to speculate about an affair between Rihanna and Jay-Z, which only made things worse. These rumors were often fueled by the media and fans, and the tension between Beyoncé and Rihanna seemed to be escalating. One of the most bizarre and revealing stories that have emerged over the years comes from the infamous cheesecake incident. If you remember, during the reality show, Making the Band, Diddy famously made the contestants walk across New York City to retrieve a cheesecake. This became one of the most infamous moments in television history, as the band members were forced to walk miles in the heat for a single cheesecake. It was a humiliating moment that many fans interpreted as an example of Diddy's harsh and controlling personality. But here's where the story takes an unexpected twist: it wasn't Diddy's cheesecake. In a recent revelation, Freddie P., a former member of Da Band, explained that the cheesecake wasn't for Diddy at all, it was for Beyoncé. According to Freddie, it was Beyoncé who had requested the cheesecake, and Diddy in turn made the band members walk across the city to fulfill her request. This revelation completely changed the narrative surrounding the cheesecake incident. Fans had long assumed that Diddy's behavior was an example of him humiliating his band members, but it turns out it was Beyoncé who had played a role in orchestrating their misery. According to Freddie, Beyoncé was completely indifferent to the band's suffering and had no problem with them walking miles just to get her a cheesecake. This event has taken on a life of its own in pop culture, with many fans pointing out how it painted Beyoncé in a different light. She had long been seen as a role model for women, someone who promoted empowerment and equality. But this incident suggested that behind the scenes, she might have been more manipulative and indifferent to the struggles of others than she let on. But the stories surrounding Beyoncé and Diddy don't end with the cheesecake. In the years that followed, more disturbing rumors started circulating about private gatherings known in the industry as freak-offs. These secretive events were said to involve powerful figures like Beyoncé, Diddy, and Jay-Z, and were allegedly focused on sexual activities. While these stories are speculative and have never been proven, they have been widely discussed in underground circles. The rumors suggested that Beyoncé, Jay-Z, and Diddy were involved in these gatherings and even tried to pressure Rihanna to join. According to sources, Rihanna's refusal to participate in these freak-offs may have been a key reason why her career began to take a sudden downturn. The most detailed account of these freak-offs comes from rapper DaBaby, who recalled a time when he was invited to a private party at Diddy's house. According to him, after most of the guests had been kicked out, he found himself alone in a room with Diddy, Beyoncé, and Jay-Z. DaBaby claimed that Beyoncé approached him, introduced herself, and began to flirt with him. He was taken aback not just because she was Beyoncé, but because of the context. It was clear that she had no hesitation in engaging with him in a way that seemed out of character for her public persona. While this account is highly speculative and lacks definitive proof, it raises uncomfortable questions about the relationships between these celebrities and the lengths they may go to maintain their power. Rihanna, on the other hand, reportedly steered clear of these gatherings, choosing to distance herself from the darker side of the industry. Her refusal to participate in these events may have been a major reason why she started to fall out of favor with some of the most powerful figures in the music business. Fast forward to 2016, and Rihanna's career faced another setback with the leak of her album Anti. Just days before the official release, Anti was leaked onto Tidal, a streaming platform owned by Beyoncé and Jay-Z. This leak forced Rihanna to release the album earlier than she had planned, which led many to speculate that the leak was part of a deliberate effort to sabotage the album's release. At the time, Beyoncé was preparing to release her own highly anticipated album Lemonade, and the timing of the Anti-leak raised eyebrows. The leak and subsequent rushed release caused Anti to underperform, commercially selling just 124,000 copies in its first week. In comparison, Lemonade sold over 650,000 copies in the same time frame. This stark difference in sales led some to believe that the leak was orchestrated to prevent Rihanna's album from competing with Beyoncé's. Furthermore, during a press conference for Tidal, it was reported that Rihanna and Beyoncé went out of their way to avoid each other. They refused to stand next to each other or interact during the event, fueling the fire of speculation about their deteriorating relationship. After the release of Anti and the subsequent leak on Tidal, it became clear that Rihanna's career was at a crossroads. While she had been one of the most successful and influential pop stars of the 2010s, it seemed that the music industry no longer held the same appeal for her. The constant pressure, the drama with fellow artists, and the behind-the-scenes machinations began to take their toll. Rihanna was stepping into a new phase of her life, one that didn't require her to compromise her values. At the same time, she was also facing intense scrutiny from fans and media. With rumors swirling about her relationship with Jay-Z and the alleged sabotage of her album release, Rihanna began to take a step back from the industry. Her distaste for the way the business operated and the toxic environment she had been immersed in made her decision to take a break even more resolute. This led to what many perceived as a dramatic shift in her career. While some fans eagerly awaited new music, Rihanna began to focus on building her brand, which eventually would become a billion-dollar empire. Fenty Beauty. Her cosmetic line became an instant success, redefining the beauty industry by focusing on inclusivity. She also expanded her business interests into fashion and luxury goods, showing the world that she was much more than a singer. But the world of music had shaped her, and although she distanced herself from it, the industry's influence on her remained. Rihanna's rise to power within business wasn't just about selling makeup or clothing. It was a direct reaction to the oppressive structures she'd encountered in the music industry. She found empowerment in creating something that was hers, something that didn't rely on compromising her integrity or succumbing to the pressures of the industry. However, her exit from music also signaled something deeper: the extent of the pressure she had faced, not just from her peers, but from the very forces that shaped the music industry. The alleged involvement of Beyoncé, Jay-Z, and Diddy in the freak-off rumors and the increasingly complicated power plays in the industry made it clear that Rihanna was looking for a new way of living. Music wasn't the escape she thought it would be. In fact, it became a prison in many ways. With Rihanna stepping away from music, many speculated about her next moves and what her absence from the scene truly meant. It was during this time that many of her fans noticed that Rihanna and Beyoncé seemed to be on different wavelengths, no longer communicating and possibly avoiding each other entirely. This wasn't just speculation. It was reported at multiple points that Rihanna and Beyoncé were no longer friendly, at least not in the way they had once been. The divide between them had been palpable for years, but as Rihanna distanced herself from music, it seemed to become more official. Whether it was due to the fallout from the anti-leak, the public drama surrounding their supposed rivalry, or the deeper complexities within the music industry, it was clear that their relationship was strained. The Tidal press conference was perhaps the most significant public display of this divide. Reports from the event claimed that the two stars refused to engage with one another. They kept their distance, not acknowledging each other or interacting during the press event, and their avoidance was seen as a clear indication of how far things had deteriorated between them. The once close bond between Rihanna and Beyoncé had disintegrated, and the fans noticed it. This wasn't just about the music, it was personal. While her time in music seemed to have come to a standstill, Rihanna's future was only just beginning to take shape. The entertainment industry may have seemed toxic to her, but she used her platform to create something revolutionary: Fenty Beauty. With a focus on inclusivity, Rihanna's makeup line reshaped the entire cosmetics industry, proving that women of all shades and backgrounds deserve to be represented in beauty products. It wasn't just makeup that Rihanna was revolutionizing. She began to build an empire. Fenty became synonymous with luxury, and her brand pushed boundaries, challenging the status quo and showing that women in power didn't need to fit any mold. Rihanna proved that her voice didn't need to come from music. It could come from her creativity, her innovation, and her willingness to challenge the systems that had once constrained her. Her focus on inclusivity within the fashion and beauty industries only deepened her connection to her global fan base, many of whom admired her not just for her music, but for her entrepreneurial success. The Fenty empire was a response to the years of frustration she had felt trying to navigate an industry that seemed intent on breaking her spirit. Rihanna took control of her own narrative, and in doing so became one of the most influential businesswomen of her generation. But even as Rihanna transitioned into business, whispers about her past with Beyoncé and Jay-Z still lingered. The fans were left to wonder whether her exit from the industry was about more than just a change in career paths. Could it have been her way of reclaiming power, or was it a response to the manipulation and control she had encountered in the music world? Was her silence an act of defiance against the toxic forces she'd once worked with? Looking back at Rihanna's album Anti, which remains one of her most critically acclaimed projects, it's impossible to ignore the symbolism in its release. Rihanna had crafted an album that not only defied expectations, but also embodied her desire to break free from the constraints of mainstream music. The record was eclectic, experimental, and fiercely personal, marking a stark departure from the usual pop offerings of the time. The way Anti was released amid the rumors of sabotage and the Tidal leak also seemed like an act of rebellion. Rihanna was no longer going to play by the industry's rules. She was going to do things her way, and if the leak was an attempt to undermine her success, it only fueled her resolve to take control of her career and life. Even with all the allegations about sabotage, leaks, and betrayal, Anti remains one of Rihanna's most defining works. It not only marked the end of one era for her, but the beginning of another one where she would be in full control, free from the suffocating grip of an industry that had once threatened to define her. Rihanna and Beyoncé's relationship is one that continues to be shrouded in mystery. From early admiration to a strained rivalry, their dynamic is a reflection of the competitive and often toxic nature of the entertainment industry. The rumors of betrayal, sabotage, and hidden agendas have left fans to question the true nature of their bond. The truth is, we may never know the full story. The entertainment industry is built on carefully curated images and carefully guarded secrets, and the truth behind the public personas of Rihanna, Beyoncé, Jay-Z, and Diddy may never be fully revealed. But what we do know is that Rihanna, having navigated these treacherous waters, found a way to take her power back. She no longer needed to prove herself through music. She had proven her worth not just as an artist, but as a mogul, a visionary, and an unstoppable force. Rihanna's story is one of resilience and transformation. It's the story of a woman who faced manipulation and betrayal but found the strength to rise above it. By stepping away from the music industry, she reclaimed her agency and redirected her focus toward building something entirely new. Her impact on music, fashion, beauty, and business is undeniable. She has redefined what it means to be a successful woman in the modern age, showing that you don't have to conform to anyone's expectations to build an empire. Rihanna's journey is a testament to the power of owning your story and creating your own path on your own terms. And as for Beyoncé, Jay-Z, and Diddy, the story between them and Rihanna will continue to be a topic of speculation, one that will likely never be fully resolved. But as Rihanna continues to thrive, it's clear that her legacy is hers alone to define. In the end, Rihanna's story is far from over. It's a story of survival, reinvention, and the strength to walk away from an industry that tried to break her. Whether or not she ever returns to music is unknown, but what she's already achieved, both in music and beyond, is a testament to her power, resilience, and unwavering belief in herself. Through all the drama, the betrayal, and the chaos, Rihanna has come out on top, creating her own empire and inspiring millions of people worldwide.